delay. I mean, you pinged in really quickly.
Yes, yeah. Mind you, I've got my mobile connection is actually really quick, and of course I'm on my new laptop, which is super fast. So I think that makes a difference.
Good. Right, so we are allegedly live. So if you can see and hear us, everybody, good afternoon. Good to see you again. Hope you all had a good weekend. We're just going to do our usual thing on Twitter for a minute because I don't think anyone's connected yet. I'm getting a 0 at the bottom of my screen.
I'm getting on Q&A. I'm getting this feature is disabled. Is that anything your end or not?
I've just got that too. How weird. I think that must be, if we've both got it, that must be a system problem.
Yeah.
It's a bit worrying. How strange.
Yeah.
Okay, well then people will have to ask their questions via Twitter then, won't they? If they're getting, well, I mean, even if they're not getting the same as us, we won't be able to see them.
No, that's true.
Okay.
Right, I'm gonna pull Twitter up a minute and keep an eye on that.
Okay, great. I'm still getting 0 in the bottom. Hi to everyone, if you can see and hear us. We're just doing our usual kind of Twitter at the beginning because, seeing one one person apparently hooked up now. I'm now 4, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think people are starting to beam in now. I guess it's the same problem for you guys, but both Sarah and I are getting a Q&A chat disabled message coming up, which looks like there's some kind of problem with the system. Given that we've both got that message, I don't think it's either of us that are doing anything wrong, but it possibly means that you can't ask us questions, or if you do, we can't see them. So we might have to rely on Twitter a bit more in this session. And Sarah has got the Twitter feed open, so I think it's probably best if you've got a burning question that you use Twitter to ask it, because I don't think we'll be able to see today anything you've put in the Q&A. I'm hoping this is just a temporary glitch because I've never seen it before. Very weird. But anyway, so we're up to 14 people now, which is great. So good afternoon again to all of you. Hope you've had a good weekend. We've seen a few tweets, a few pictures of food again. I think we blame Sarah for kicking that off, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So last century.
Yes, it is. Yes. Your food looks like a big mess, maybe you're excused. It's when people tweet a picture of some horrible soggy plate of baked beans or something that. But I actually, on a serious point, I don't know if it's the case in Singapore, but certainly in the UK, there are still plenty of people who think Twitter is a complete waste of time. Even though sort of the business and the social implications should be obvious to everyone by now, but the usual criticism people make of Twitter is that it's just people talking about what they had for breakfast. So, but by tweeting pictures of your food, you're perpetuating that theme. So I'll blame all of you if you bring down Twitter.
Somebody's just commented on Twitter, Amelia, that the Q&A function is disabled over there as well.
Yeah.
So nobody can see it. That's a bit of a shame. Never mind.
It is weird, isn't it? I mean, all the Hangouts we've done, I've never seen that before.
No.
So.
You haven't tweaked, because you're in charge as the moderator. You haven't tweaked anything.
I haven't changed it.
No.
Exactly as it was before. So
weird.
Maybe, well, it isn't a particularly useful feature, I don't think. Maybe they're upgrading it or doing something useful to it.
Okay.
And that it will magically reappear looking a lot better tomorrow, we hope. Anyway, so yes, please, if you have questions, pop them through Twitter, because Sarah's monitoring the Twitter feed, and use that as the Q&A for today, because we won't be able to communicate otherwise.
Just get to put the hashtag in first before you post your question.
Yes, please don't forget the hashtag, otherwise we won't see them. Right, okay, so what did we want to say to you this morning? Okay, in terms of timing, where we're at now, topic 4 is well underway. Some of you I see have posted your first topic 4s already, which is brilliant. So usual rules apply. You have until end of today, that's midnight your time, 4 o'clock our time, to post your first topic 4 post, and midnight tomorrow for your comments and reflection. And then we just repeat exactly the same process on Wednesday and Thursday for topic 5. So we have done most of your topic 3 feedback. We're all meeting, Sarah, Nick and myself are meeting at the university later this morning just to compare notes on that and finish off the general feedback post. So by the end of the morning, all of that will be completed for you. And are you seeing any questions coming through, Sarah?
Another quick look. There was a question about our dogs. Where are your dogs? Millie is she's actually underneath the chair. I don't know quite why she's gone under the chair. She was on it, curled up asleep. She's now underneath it. And where's Badger?
Badger's shut in the kitchen after his barking display on Friday. I've made sure he's well out of the way, but I will go and get him to say goodbye at the end of the session, if you like. If you're missing.
That's the only question so far. Okay,
well, that's easily dealt with. Right, so in terms of, I jotted down a few points I wanted to mention when I was marking your stuff. I particularly liked the Airbnb example that a number of you mentioned, where a lady was particularly creative. She wanted to work for Airbnb, and so she set herself up as like a dummy account on their system to promote herself, pretending she was a hotel or a house, and that was a very interesting example. It's the kind of thing you can only do once, really, but there's lots of examples, and a number of you have shared little video clips that people have done to promote themselves in an interesting and unusual way. Because I think one of the key points, and I highlighted it in the introduction to the topic, is the word authentic or authenticity. I think I put it in capitals or bold or something, because I think some people are a bit worried about developing a professional profile because they think it's about showing off. And I think it's about saying, oh, look at me, aren't I wonderful? I'm amazing. Look at all the great things I've done. But, really, it's not that at all. And, if I see people who treat social media like that, it puts me off. I just think that, the kind of person who does that sort of thing online probably does something very similar offline as well. So, no, it isn't about showing off. It's really just about demonstrating what you can do in a very neutral way, but giving people the best opportunity to find out whether you're the right person to work for them or not. So in a sense, it's no different from a CV that you might have done in the past, but you can get out to a much wider and much more targeted audience than was possible through just a paper CV. So no, please don't think we're encouraging you to be big show-offs online. That really isn't the case at all. And I think the best examples, if you look at some of those videos that people have been sharing, are the best examples of people who are really quite come across really as being quite quiet and quite shy in some cases, but they've just had a good idea, and they've been creative and methodical about how they've implemented it. So it'd be interesting to hear your views on that. I don't know, what's your view on the whole kind of authenticity angle, Sarah?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of thinking the same as you. The other thing that I thought about when I was marking all of your posts is that there is a good argument, actually. The trouble is, if nobody mentioned this, so if everybody is building is trying their best to build a super duper online profile and following all the guidance and all of that, then in itself that loses authenticity. It's like if everybody's doing the same thing, then it just becomes same old, and it becomes a bit boring, and so it becomes even more difficult to stand out. And I would have liked some comments from people who'd thought that through and maybe considered that perhaps, building a super duper online profile isn't necessarily the way to go, because then you're not standing out from the crowd if you do the same as everybody else does. That, maybe there should be other more creative ways of doing it. Maybe, in fact, you should keep your online profile quite low key, and do something a bit special when you're wanting to apply for a particular job, a bit like the case of the Airbnb person whose name escapes me at the moment. So, you know, if everybody's doing a fab online profile, that's great, but then we're all back in the same boat, we're all doing the same thing. How are you going to stand out then?
Yeah, and that's very true. And you know, with more traditional CVs, you get the same thing. If people applying for a job, a company may get hundreds of applications, and if they all look the same, if they're all mentioning the same keywords, then yeah, I mean, how do you tell which of those are really going to fit? But another key point, which not many of you mentioned, a few of you did, is the notion of cheating and saying things about yourself that basically aren't true. There have been some high-profile examples where people have been caught out, you know, lying on LinkedIn, for example, or through their blogs, basically claiming to have experience or qualifications that in reality they don't have. And you know, this has to some extent always been the case, but the very public nature of the internet means that it's likely to get spotted much more easily. I mean, I sometimes see people on LinkedIn describing themselves, and I think, oh, I used to know this person, I used to work with this person, and I'm pretty sure they didn't do that. And that's probably just a minor thing. But there have been some really high-profile examples. There was a guy, a very senior manager at Yahoo, who lost his job because it was discovered that he'd said he'd gone to a particular university, and it turned out he hadn't. And that was just spotted by someone who had been to that university, and they tried to find him, and he didn't exist as far as the university was concerned. And you think, well, you know, surely why would people do that? Because it's so easy nowadays to check. So I think that's an interesting issue that some of you might want to pick up in topic 4 as well. You know, the notion of being found out and what it means.
And we have a program on television here called The Apprentice, where basically people are competing for a top job in a very well-known company here, and at the end, once they get down to, I think, probably the last 4, then they kind of wheel in some important people who go through people's CVs with a fine-tooth comb and check every little detail, and quite a few of those people have been caught out either outright lying or exaggerating the qualifications and the experience that they have. So I guess the more important the role that you're going for, the more likely it is that actually somebody's going to really thoroughly check your background to make sure that you are who you say you are and that you have the qualifications and experience that you say you've got. And I noticed on LinkedIn, when I updated my profile, which I did as a result of marking all your posts, by the way, there's a new section where you can endorse other people. So other people say that they're good at this particular thing and you can endorse it. And that's great, but it's also very easy to endorse somebody for something that they don't actually have. You know, you take them at face value, you believe that they can do that thing, you endorse that skill, and actually they don't really have that at all. So that's open to abuse.
Okay, right, moving on then. Any questions coming through on Twitter?
We have Stephanie Lim pointed out that while I gave her feedback, I didn't give her grades. Oops, so I have done that now.
Oh, well, that's a real-time correction there. Well done.
Ryan has said, so this was something that he obviously put yesterday. Good morning, ladies. Just a quick question for topic 4. If someone's addressing a wholly different approach, do we comment on their blog post or do we search for someone else who is doing the same matter? My thought would be if somebody's doing a wholly different post, comment on it. Surely if they're coming at things from a completely different angle to you, that should really make you think about why they're different, why they're not saying the same things as you are, and that could well give you some really rich material to do a really good comment on their blog post. And that's again, that brings me back to what I said last time. A lot of people are saying the same things. I'd really love to read somebody who has a slightly different take or who says some different things, because it just makes my life so much more interesting, and also it tells me that you've really thought about the topic and thought beyond just answering the question that's been set for you.
Yeah, because really, I mean, as you found in the things you've shared, there are plenty of resources out there which tell people how to build a LinkedIn profile, for example. So, you really don't need to just repeat that. You can link to a useful source, but then keep your words for talking about, what that means to you, or what did you find particularly challenging or interesting or unusual from your perspective in terms of the jobs you've applied for example. So yeah, I think you really have to be creative when you've got a short word limit about making sure you use those words to best effect. We're still seeing a bit of repetition as well. People posting very similar comments, for example, on different posts, and then basically repeating that in the summary, which again is a bit of a waste of your words. You can link back to something that you've commented on that you think is worth including, but you don't need to keep repeating the same material. One other thing I wanted to mention before I forget is Googling yourself. A number of you mentioned this in connection with employers potentially checking you out by Googling your name when you apply for a job. And just to say, be a little bit careful about that. It's good to see some of you have done it, and you've then posted the results so we can see how you feature on a Google search for your name. But an important thing to bear in mind with that is that you personally doing a search for yourself will get very different results from any other person randomly anywhere who's searching for you as well. And that's basically because your computer will remember you. And if you've been using your laptop or your machine to post on different social networks, then when you do a Google search, that's going to feature very highly for you because it will remember that you've been to that site many times. But someone else on a completely different machine putting in exactly the same search may well get a very different picture because their machine hasn't got that history to work on. So I'm not saying don't Google yourself, but by all means do that. And if you can show that you've managed to move your particular sites further up the results, then great. But make sure you use the public version of Google rather than your own personal version when you do that, because otherwise you won't get an accurate picture. You're probably, certainly I know that if I went into Google at the moment and Googled myself, the top thing that would come up would be Twitter and then possibly a few of these blogs. But I know for a fact that if you did the same search for me, you would get very different. You'd get lots of other Lisa Harrises as well, because you're doing a search from a much more neutral starting point. So just bear that in mind and think about the implications of that for marketing as well, because it's very easy to kind of overestimate the impact you might be having. Is that a fair comment, Sarah, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I actually Googled myself yesterday because, of course, I've got a new laptop, so hasn't got any of the cached history on it. And I found someone with my name who had been convicted of shoplifting. That was really interesting. That was the third result in the list. I've never seen that before, but I've never seen it before because when I've Googled myself, I've been on my own laptop, which I've had for a few years now. And of course, the cache memory is full of stuff about me anyway. This time, bingo, I get some weird person who's been done for shoplifting, which is very interesting. It's obvious it's not me. But I'd never seen that before. That was a bit interesting.
Yes, if you go to Google Plus, there is a function you can select where you can actually see your results as other people see them or as the general public see them. So it'll be interesting to compare, do a screenshot from your own perspective and also using that setting and see how different the results are. Okay, are we getting any more questions?
Yeah, we've got a question from Shannon. Are we supposed to choose one of the topics that has been showed on blog, or are we allowed to blog about other things? That's I think.
You mean?
Yeah, I think what that means is probably I'm guessing that means, Shannon, you're asking, do you have to stick to the topic that you've been given, or can you do something else? And I would say that, yes, you have to stick to the topic you've been given, but the topic is deliberately broad. You know, when Lisa's the one that set all of these, and when I look at them, I think, yeah, there's loads of stuff I could write about this. That is, like, for example, the one that we've just had about building an online identity. You know, if it was me, I'd have linked to maybe one video that pointed you to how you do that. But actually what I'd have gone on then is to discuss, well, you know, what are the dangers of building an online identity, and at what point are we switched off? For example, the one that Lisa gave us of the person, I'm sorry, Lisa, I've forgotten her name again. The one who was tweeting and that's it. So I would have talked about that, and you know, and thought about at what point do we switch off? At what point does our public and private merge? And is that right? Should that be happening, or should we be much more careful about what we show online? And also, I might have discussed the reaction of other people. You know, is it right that people behave like that? That would they expect us all to be perfect all the time, to always be on duty and always monitoring what we do? Because I just think that's awful. Are we not allowed to make any mistakes anymore? Are we not allowed to say something that we might regret and apologize for it? When everything is online and public, then that creates its own problems, and that might have been more of where I'd gone with it, rather than just, you know, giving the 4 points of making a really good online profile. I'd have gone off and talked about something a little bit more depth, something else. So if that's what you mean, Shannon, then stick to the topic, but there's plenty of opportunity to look at other things around it.
Yeah, and I think, thinking about how I worded the question on topic 4, I think I said something like choose one ethical issue. So yeah, I mean, there's hundreds of ethical issues you could choose. So if it's something that fits that description but wasn't specifically mentioned in the notes, then that's fine. So yeah, I mean, as we were saying earlier, the more variety, the better, really. Because if you guys are going to get real value from reading each other's work, you don't want it all to look the same, do you? It'd be good if we got 20 different examples of different ethical issues, because then by reading everybody else's, you'd get a lot more variety than just people basically saying very similar things that you did.
Yeah.
You know, like we were saying about the previous topic, and with this one, you've got much more scope, I think, because you know, it is such a very broad area, and it's something that everyone has an opinion on. Okay, any more questions coming through?
Hang on, this is one new result here. Oh, it's right. So Shannon says, sorry, I meant about the articles that you have provided for us. Do we have to work towards those articles' topics?
No, I think what I've said is that as long as it fits the general description of being an ethical issue, if it wasn't something that's specifically mentioned in those articles, no, that's absolutely fine. Any more?
No, that's it so far.
Okay, is nobody sending us any nice pictures of sunny Singapore today?
No, we've got a picture of some very resourceful students sharing the Hangout to save bandwidth. But that's all so far.
Okay, good. Right, well, I think I've mentioned everything that I wanted to say about, oh yes, no, there's one other point I've got on my notes here, and that's in connection with Twitter. It's great that so many of you are active on Twitter, and we like seeing your pictures, and it's good that you're sharing links when you've posted and that kind of thing. But I think, you know, particularly for the last two topics, you could get more creative with Twitter. I'm not seeing, for example, many cases where people are actually tweeting things beyond their actual blog posts. So, you know, what about things that you've come across? You know, it might be a video or an article, something you've come across that you think other people would benefit from. You know, you could just share a link to that and explain why you found it useful. Or you could reach out to people who've written those things. A lot of them will be on Twitter. You could find them. You could include their Twitter handle in your tweet and say, you know, you really liked John Smith's video about such and such, and actually include a link to him so that he sees it. You never know, you might get a reply. We had a case last year. It was on the topic 3, the professional profile section, where somebody had written in their post about how useful they'd found a website from a lady in America who was a consultant about personal branding. And so what she did was she found this person's Twitter handle, and she tweeted to her and said that she was doing this topic and she'd very much enjoyed her stuff and she'd used it in her blog post. And it turned out that the lady concerned, at that very moment when the tweet was sent, she was locked out of her house and she was sat out on the step fiddling around with her phone, waiting to be let into her house. And so they started having a conversation. So she replied straight away, and the two of them then had quite a long discussion on Twitter. And the student asked her further questions that were relevant to her post. And she had a captive audience until this lady managed to get into her house. So, I mean, that's a bit of an extreme example, but you will often find that if you quote somebody using Twitter, they will reply to you. If it's a major celebrity who gets hundreds of thousands, it's probably unlikely. But normally speaking, people like to get thank yous. They like to hear that someone's found their stuff useful, and they will quite often reply. And you might find that you've got a useful contact there for the future.
I think a nice way of looking at it is what's going to happen when this is finished. When you finish this module, what then? Because the way things are looking at the moment, it's all going to stop. It's all going to grind to a halt. And you might occasionally tweet to each other, but I think only one or two of you will. And you certainly haven't built any connections outside of the people in the group. So I can see that the module will finish, and although you might keep in touch with myself and Lisa, that'll be it. Well, that would be a dreadful shame. The whole point of Twitter and social networking and the web generally is that you build networks and contacts and you talk to different people. And so it's really worthwhile investing some time in broadening your networks and reaching out to other people so that this continues when the module's finished. Yeah. Otherwise, we're talking, the whole module is living and working on the web, and in a few days' time, the living and working on the web is going to stop, and that would be a big shame.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I think there's all sorts of ways you'll find it beneficial. I mean, I'm not just talking about getting marks for this module, but building these networks and going forward. You never know when you might need them, and you may think at the moment, oh, it's a big mountain to climb. I've only got 5 followers or whatever, but you just do these things gradually, and certainly in terms of what's going on in your own local area. I mean, finding key people to follow, people who, for example, run events in Singapore that would be useful for your course or for your future career. Having contacts and connections with people like that is going to be extremely useful on an ongoing basis for you. Not just for this module, but more generally for your career and for your interests going forward. So do try to make the most of the tools, and really our objective here isn't just to sort of make you use something so you can get a mark and then record a score and then never think about it again. We really want to sort of hopefully encourage you to really develop some behaviors in how you use the internet that will be useful to you for years ahead going forwards. So anyway, bear that in mind. Right, anything else coming through, Sarah?
No, I've just noticed some, I just checked my notifications and there's a few good mornings and things in there, but of course the hashtag wasn't on, so they've not shown. Nicole has posted a picture of what her view out of her window of a really interesting looking house, and her comment is gloomy day today. It does look a bit overcast, actually. That sky is really flat and grey. Just having a look down. No other questions, but good mornings and hellos and that kind of thing. I know a lot of people have been busy sending me I've had loads of emails come through on Google, possibly linking me to comments or to other things, and I will get to those, but you won't necessarily get a personal reply for me. I may just have a look at the comment and that'll be it. So I have seen them all, but you may not necessarily get a reply directly, but I am, like I said, I have seen them. Okay.
Okay, I'm just sharing my screen at the moment from the blog. I'm just having a quick look through the tweets. Oh yes, here's the
sharing bandwidth one. Yep,
got that one. Okay, great. Oh, someone's retweeted it. Oh, there's a question. Did we do that one? There's a question there in very small type.
Oh, that was the one I read. Yeah, no, we did do that one. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, where are your dogs? Oh yes, I said I get the dog, didn't I? Okay, so I think we've covered all the questions. I'm not quite sure why the Q&A wasn't working. That's
very good.
But I think we seem to have dealt with it by Twitter anyway, which is fine as long as there's two of us. It's a bit difficult to monitor Twitter and talk if there's only one of you.
Yeah.
But so thank you for doing that, Sarah.
No worries.
Is there any sign of, is Millie still under the chair?
No, she's still under the chair and she's snoozing. So yeah, and I don't. Even if I got the laptop down there, you wouldn't see her because it's quite dark. I don't think the camera would.
You don't know what else might be lurking under the chair.
Well, no. I am gonna see if you can. Okay, you're gonna have to let me know, Lisa, if you can see her. But she's there. Can you see her?
Oh, yes. I caught a quick glimpse then. Yes.
Have you got
her peeping out? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there she is.
Okay. If you want to just say a few summing up words, Sarah, putting you on the spot there, I'll just go run and get Badger to say goodbye.
Right. Okay, so summing up then, I would really love to see some different blog posts this time. With topic 4, you've obviously, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but you've obviously got quite a lot of scope. Lisa set a topic that's very broad, so she's asked you to talk about an ethical issue, and there are lots of them. So please, let's have some different ones this time. If I could read 2 or 3, or 4 would be lovely, different ethical issues, that would be absolutely brilliant, and it would make my life so much more enjoyable. Yeah. Okay. So I've just said, Lisa, about different blog posts, different ethical issues this time, please. I'd like to read 2, 3, maybe 4 different ethical issues discussed. That would be fab.
Yes, and there's loads to choose from. I mean, we've given you quite a selection in the question post anyway, but I'm sure you can think of plenty more. And some of you have highlighted things already in your earlier posts that have an ethical dimension to them. So, by all means, link back and reflect on perhaps how your view has changed as a result of conversations and reading since you made that original comment. So we'd definitely like to see more linkage between the topics now that we're getting towards the end, and you've obviously got the more topics to compare. So that would be good as well. Okay, so do you want to just have a final check of Twitter to see if anybody?
Oh yes.
Any last questions, and then we'll sign off.
Okay. Oh, okay. So Easter has just tweeted a picture of coffee. She's at a shop called Pies and Coffee. Pies! I didn't realise you had pies in Singapore. I thought that was a very British thing. Pies and coffee, nice. But no other questions. That seems to be it for the questions now. Okay, brilliant. Right, well, we'll sign off for now then, and we'll see you all again tomorrow morning. I think Nick's beaming in tomorrow, isn't he? Yes, he is. It's Nick's turn tomorrow. Okay, great. And like I said just now, Sarah, Nick and I are going to be meeting this morning to discuss your topic 3 marks and put the general feedback post together. So that will hopefully finish off topic 3 completely. And you should now be well on your way with topic 4. So hopefully you're enjoying it, and it's going really quickly. And by Thursday it will all be over, which is a bit sad. Okay, so your name, I've got to say that all your different, you seem, I don't know, you seem to have about 6 different names, each one of you. But anyway, Jue, so Tan Jue Yin has posted a picture of her dog laid out next to the laptop, and it's pictured on the screen. Oh, and there's that badger growling. Yeah, someone's just walked past the house. Okay, yeah. So we've got a picture of another dog on Twitter, and that's lovely. Excellent. Right. Final
Okay, we'll
question.
have a look at those in a minute.
There's a
When I've got a spare hand.
There's a final question from Nicole. Do we discuss a few ethical issues in one post or focus on one?
No, it specifically says, I think it says in capitals, one.
Yes. Yeah.
Because otherwise you've got a very short space of words anyway. So no, don't try and cram 6 different things in. Focus on one and do some depth discussion on one thing. Otherwise, you'll just go all over the place. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll sign off now then, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all again tomorrow. Okay. So say badges and away. Right. Okay. See you tomorrow, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye.